Yeah, I think the emotion of when these teams would lose surprised me. Obviously, the Olympics are monumentally important and they're a once in a lifetime opportunity. But in my assessment of it before I was a part of it, it's such a short period of time. I didn't realize you can get emotionally invested that deeply that quickly. And so like when we were in the German locker room and Mo Wagner was emotional after the game and he's in tears and he was really crying hard. I was surprised because they had only been there for like a week and a half. And usually when you have that much emotion, it takes a while for that to kind of build up and like sometimes months or years even. So for these guys to be as in as they were, I was surprised. I didn't realize how deeply passionate they were about their countries and about this tournament. And it makes me excited for 28 because like you realize the real competitive spirit and emotion is there.
The documentary has been out, the docu-series has been out for a little bit here. So what has been the feedback that you have received? What has it been like, seeing viewers having a chance to check out the project?
Yeah, it's always nerve wracking. You work really hard and you hope it does well, and it's hard to know how something's going to be received or if what you're trying to do resonates or translates. So it's been nice to see what people react to in moments that you hope people react to and then they do, or moments that you kind of overlook that actually people care about and are excited about. So it's been nice. I try to like do a healthy balance of checking in on what people are saying and then get back into my life to not torture myself. But I have friends sending me articles, only positive ones because they're my friends, and if they sent me bad ones, they wouldn't be. But yeah, no, it seems pretty positive so far, and people have been really friendly and cool about it, and just feel grateful about it all.
Based on their feedback, are there things that you wish that could have made the final cut? Just hearing what they had to say, or are you pretty happy with kind of the final product that's out there?
Yeah, no, I'm happy with what we got in there. I mean, we shot from June 24 to December 24. So if it's a lot of footage, but like a lot of these docs, it takes us years to shoot. And so we didn't have as much to pull from as we normally do. So the best moments that we have are in the show. There's two moments I can think of. One is Greece qualifying for the Olympics. We shot with Giannis in the locker room, and it was just a nice moment. It was like very, very quintessential Olympics. But we just didn't have room for it in episode one because we wanted to get to the Olympics as quickly as we could. And then the other was the scene with Anthony Edwards and President Obama. We shot a dinner afterwards with President Obama and the team, which I thought was very cool. It stayed in the cut for a long time, but eventually we had to lose it just for a time reason because it's kind of slowing things down a little bit. But those two moments were cool, and I wish we could have found a way to get those in, but we had to keep the show moving and entertaining, and those were kind of victim of that.
What was the planning in putting this docu-series together? Just the logistics. I'm always into kind of the nerdy behind the scenes in terms of how you put this together because I have to imagine this is happening like you said in real time, just logistically. What was kind of the thought process into providing the blueprint and making sure that you got everything in putting together the final documentary?
Well, it started above me. I came in midway through all the deals being done. Connor Shell, who runs a production company in New York called Words and Pictures, he was already working behind the scenes on all of these deals with the federations and the IOC and USAB and the NBA and all these entities bringing together higher ground. So I came into the company and Connor said, "Hey, I'm working on this thing, and if it comes through, it'd be cool to have you be a part of it." And I immediately was like, "Please, anything I can do, I'd love to." So Connor did all the heavy lifting as far as the behind the scenes negotiations are concerned. And then once I got involved, it was just doing research and figuring out the storylines and who we wanted to follow, and then working with the IOC on what the access looks like and how do we do that in a way that doesn't step on their toes because they had never done this before. So it was really making sure they were comfortable. And then it was figuring out which players wanted to be involved and which players needed an explanation of the project and how do we allocate the resources to covering the teams in an accurate way. So I've never worked on a show that had so many moving logistics, not just for myself, but the people above me and our whole team. And on a daily basis, there were dozens of logistical hurdles that we had to kind of work through. And that was from the very start when Connor was doing this thing and getting off the ground to the very end when we turned in the final cut.
So, when interviewing the players and the coaches, compared to kind of their day job, so to speak, playing professionally in the NBA, what was the intensity like with all these players? Did you get the sense that this Olympic Games was different, or is their competitive mindset always the same? Because just watching it, it seemed like this tournament that happened in Paris, the intensity was different in terms of what you typically see when they're heading into the playoffs. It just seemed like there was more at stake compared to what they usually experience every year. Was that the case when talking to them, or do you think the competitiveness was exactly the same?
So I've never covered an NBA playoffs before, so I don't know. But like what I can speak on is that the Olympics they're an emotional environment no matter what because you have people that want to be there because it's their own time. They're playing for their country, which is personal, and then their families are usually there, which is also personal. So you have this environment of emotion that provides all these different feelings, and I think the competitiveness they all have is innate in who they are, and it's ingrained in their souls and their hearts. Um, so I think that's always there. But I think what you have at the Olympics is this extra emotional environment that makes that competitiveness maybe feel a little different or look a little different. I think the NBA playoffs is like that's their job, and they're like kind of robotic in their approach as far as their competitiveness and getting to a goal. In the Olympics, it feels to me like they're able to kind of take it in a little more and feel that a little more, and so it looks a little different from these guys.
Can you discuss? There's a scene that Steve Kerr in the first episode, he was saying that you guys, half of you guys are Hall of Famers, half of you guys are going to be Hall of Famers. It's going to be impossible just to play all 12 of you in one game. Some of you
Mhm.
are not going to get playing time. It's in paraphrasing here, but it's nothing personal. Just capturing what you did in the locker rooms, was there any tension with some of the players? I mean, that was kind of brought up in terms of, certain players such as Jason Tatum not getting playing time despite his stature. Was that something that actually occurred, or is that something kind of like made up in terms of like, how the media generally likes to sensationalize certain things? You're actually in the locker room. So I'm just curious in terms of all these players, were they able to put their egos for the collective winning a gold medal, or was there tension with these guys in terms of, hey, I can contribute, I'm not getting the playing time? Whereas there's any kind of talk, and not only with Team USA, but other teams as well that you covered in the tournament?
If there was tension, we didn't see it. I think one of the takeaways from the show is how emotionally intelligent the coaches of these Olympic teams are. And so the lack of tension is a testament to their leadership.
Mhm.
I think it could have gotten tense and I think egos could have been hurt. And maybe they were behind the scenes and we just didn't see it. But I think the collective buy in was so strong amongst these teams that when someone like Tatum might not be as happy, I think he still feels proud that he's part of a team like that. Tyrese Halliburton was openly embracing it. He was
Yeah.
just excited to learn from these guys and be around these guys and see how they work and all that. So like he was a guy afterwards who was as happy as anybody. So if anything, it wasn't there was no tension. There was just appreciation for being a part of something so special.
Was there anything that surprised you that occurred during the Olympic Games that you weren't expecting, just in terms of capturing certain moments?
Yeah, I think the emotion of when these teams would lose surprised me. Obviously, the Olympics are monumentally important and they're a once in a lifetime opportunity. But in my assessment of it before I was a part of it, it's such a short period of time. I didn't realize you can get emotionally invested that deeply that quickly. And so like when we were in the German locker room and Mo Wagner was emotional after the game and he's in tears and he was really crying hard. I was surprised because they had only been there for like a week and a half. And usually when you have that much emotion, it takes a while for that to kind of build up and like it sometimes months or years even. So for these guys to be as in as they were, I was surprised. I didn't realize how deeply passionate they were about their countries and about this tournament. And it makes me excited for 28 because like you realize the real competitive spirit and emotion is there. And as a fan, I'm psyched to just like see what that looks like, having been close to it.
What was the chemistry like with Team USA? Just from the outset, it seemed like all these guys were And it seems like this is kind of a trend through a lot of the previous teams. There's kind of a bond that's formed that I think we were talking earlier about just the differences between the NBA and international play. That with Team USA, there seemed like a very collective bond between all the players on. I think that came very across not only in your docuseries, but also just watching the Olympics. I'm just curious, just kind of, this the feel of this felt different compared to just them outside of international competition.
Yeah, I think the chemistry was definitely there, and it was palpable from the very beginning. Like, just because Steph and LeBron don't play on the same team doesn't mean they don't have chemistry. They're the face of the league for the last decade, so they have chemistry just knowing what the other one's gone through and how hard that is. And then you have Steph and KD who played together, and you have Book and KD who play together now. And they were all, and Kerr who coaches Steph and has coached Kevin. And there's all these different relationships that are happening on and off the court that you could see the chemistry was there. So yeah, they still had to work out kinks and make sure they understood each other's basketball terminology and things like that. But the chemistry was real and it was there. And you're seeing a generation who's been really at the forefront of the league for the last decade plus, and inevitably they all respect each other and know each other's families and all that. So while they're competitive with each other in the NBA and they want to win, they want to be the best, there's still a respect there that's undeniable, and you could feel that from the very beginning.
How much access did you get to the coaches in terms of their philosophy and coaching all these players and the differences between, this Paris Olympics, they had, you captured this in your series as in terms of the disappointment they had in the World Cup, entering, this next phase of international competition. Just curious your experience with these coaches in terms of their mindset and managing, all these players. I mean, your experience, they're coaching some of the most elite talent in the history of basketball. So
Yeah.
just curious, just kind of your conversations with them and their philosophy of managing, all these egos and different personalities.
Really got a sense of why they're successful because they know how to talk to everyone. So whether they're talking to our crew or they're talking to their superstars, they don't approach everyone with a blueprint on how to act. They individually look at you and see the question that you're asking and then help you try to solve that. So I think their ability to connect was unbelievable, and it's fun to be around and it makes you feel good. But also they were our point of access, the son of the final boss. So we, Connor and everyone did a great job putting us in a position to get access. And then ultimately the coaches were the last stop. So they determined what we were allowed to shoot and what we weren't and what they were comfortable with. And they were all pretty receptive to the project and the idea. So we got to work with them closely on how this all works and what we should and shouldn't shoot. And in that, you just got a sense of the type of leaders they are. And I don't think you get picked for that position if you aren't emotionally intelligent and able to connect with everybody, because you got to do it quickly. And that tournament is a sprint. And in order to connect with someone quickly like that, you have to have good leadership skills. So the coaches were one of the most impressive parts of the whole tournament for me. And I'm still kind of in awe of how they're able to pull that kind of success off.
So when viewers get to see all of the episodes, when it's all said and done, what's the one takeaway that you hope viewers kind of have something sticking in their mind when it's all said and done when watching it? If they didn't have a chance to watch the Paris Olympics, and this is the only lens they had the chance to view what that fantastic tournament was, what's one of the takeaways that you would like them to just experience when viewing Court of Gold?
I think big picture wise, I hope that people understand how global basketball really is. It's played in all parts of the world, and people really care about it. Like France has an amazing basketball culture, and Serbia does, and Canada's developing one. And that sport really has the potential more than any other I can think of to expand globally over the next 20, 30. I hope people understand that the game is now global and it's been building up to this point for a while, but this is not just an American sport anymore. When you have something that connects everybody around the world, it's rare. So I think it makes basketball special, and it's great for the sport. And then from what we tried to do perspective, big picture, was just authenticity. I hope people feel like the doc was authentic and that it wasn't manipulated in any way and it just felt real. So I hope the globality on a big picture and just the realness of what we tried to show.
Last question for you. With the players of Team USA, Obviously, there's a lot of history that comes with Team USA basketball in terms of the prestige and just winning a gold medal, and nothing
Mhm.
else is acceptable instead of except winning the gold. I'm just curious, with a lot of the players, was that heavy on their minds just during the Paris Olympics, or were just their own expectations already set in terms of just being there for their teammates, for their coaches, and then for their country? The history didn't matter. I'm just curious. I think compared to other competitions, I would say the history matters a lot just in terms of Team USA basketball specifically.
Yeah, I think there's always extra pressure when you're Team USA because you know you're supposed to win, and like if you win, like great, you won, you're supposed to, and if you lose, it's like catastrophic. So I think that it's hard to live in that world. But I also think that these guys just want to win no matter what. So whether there's expectations or not, or there's history or there's not, they're just always like we need to win and we need to be the best. So I don't think their mindset changes in that. I think maybe they'll acknowledge the fact that wow, we're part of history, or we have history at our back. But I don't think that the history is on their mind as much. I think they are just so singularly focused on winning everything they do, whether that's being the best at practice or winning the gold medal, that the pressure doesn't really interfere with their process or with what they're doing.
Jake, thank you very much for spending some time with the show. Can you let our audience know where they can find you on social media? You have any upcoming projects you want our audience to know? Anything else you want our audience to be aware of?
Yeah, I'm the worst. I don't have social media, so follow Words and Pictures on their Instagram and on their Twitter, and follow Netflix. And that's who I would go to on the social media side of things. And then as far as next project, I'm not quite sure. I hope to stay doing sports stuff and maybe in basketball, but we'll see. So I don't really have a personal plug, but more look at what Words and Pictures are doing. They're doing awesome stuff, and Netflix is always, making some of the best sports docs out there right now. So just keep watching that stuff.
Thank you very much, Jake. Truly appreciate it.
You
Thank you.
got it, man. Thanks for having me.